have anywhere from 80 to 110 juveniles that have committed a crime. We call those delinquent acts. And I would say last week probably 75% of those were first-time offenders, and very few of those 75 will be back the second time. But it's the ones that come back the second time, and then the third, and the fourth, because we have to treat them and have them be positive about that treatment before we can do anything as far as a serious consequence with our children. The state dictates that.
Right. Rutherford County Sheriff's Department Lieutenant Bernard Salandi is joining us as well. And Lieutenant, what do you have to add to this conversation here?
Well, I don't want to disagree with what Mr. Miller said, but I believe, and probably what you said also, that the rehab process for incarcerated individuals needs to stay in the jail for most of them, because the probation system, like you said, is overwhelmed. Why? Because they doing a year, we kick them out. They go into a lot of these outreach and halfway houses, and they're coming right back because we're not getting to the core of the problem. You know, and we started a few programs in our facility, and we've seen the change, you know, and I believe in faith addiction programs 100%. You know, without them putting God in it first, a lot of stuff ain't working. And Carl, you know, his ministry is one of the main things. That's why you see it shining and rising in our community, because they put that in there. You know, so I believe when these individuals go to before a judge and get that sentence, and also the numbers about addiction, we have almost 1,000. 90% of them is because of drug addictions. 90%.
And alcohol is a drug. So
drug and alcohol.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I believe they need to stay in the system, go through our programs that we offer. I mean, there's a lot more programs that we can offer. You know, that's all about budgets and whatnot. But
sure.
I still believe that with them staying in the system, going through the program now, helping them get that extra step. Because one of the biggest problems now with the incarcerated getting into the free world is employment. You know, in our community, that's what we find out. It's not housing. A lot of these guys are local. They have families. I mean, just like you said before, it's nothing to have. One time, the saddest, probably I've been there 14 years, is when I seen that scenario, like you said, Captain Little saw. I saw this one young lady. She wrote a request about something. I went to talk to her. I said, well, where's your mom? Oh, she's in the next pod, and my two other sisters are in the other pods. We had 3 sisters and a mother at the same time in the facility. So so that meant there was 6 kids out there being raised by grandmom. Thank God maybe a couple of the baby's fathers stepped up, but it's a sad predicament, you know. And for the most part, they partake in our programs, and I can honestly say right now they have not returned except for the mother. She seems to be falling back in that cycle.
And let me comment with that with the Lieutenant, because he's right. When I said that we have our parents that are incarcerated, abuse and neglect, they're trying to fight for custody. And I praise those programs in my courtroom all the time. They are in the parenting classes that Superintendent Allen was talking about. All of those programs that are based while they are incarcerated, those are vital. And we are seeing a great change with that. Now, they face a challenge when they get out of the controlled environment back to the things that they have, the temptations that they have. But that's part of it, is having these great programs while they are incarcerated. I agree with that.
And someone very close to me who struggles with this very similar thing said it really helps me to help other people when not only for them, not only helping them, but it helps me to remember my focus out here when it is so readily available at every, corner market or, just around the street, and helps him stay sober. So, I mean, there is another fold to that as well. What are some of the programs, for instance, that you have there in
right. And the programs that we're bringing in is something that correction in the whole throughout the whole United States is seeing that we have to bring in these programs. We're doing we have a successful employment and lawful living through conflict management. That's teaching them how to do interviews, how to carry themselves, how to dress properly for interviews. The drug program in collaboration with the workhouse. There's also going to be consequences of driving under the influence, so they will know if you're out there drinking and driving, and that percentage is probably about 70% of our inmates,
right.
DUI offenders. AA and NA is given twice a week. We have a Reformers Unanimous program, which is a faith-addicted program. That probably the best program we've seen come into in my 20 years in correction in a long time. So the programs are there. But going back to the job part, it's like we say about kids in school. We blame it. Well, what's the school doing to make that kid better? Blah blah blah. It's not the school system. It's society has to bring that out.
Yeah. We've got to go, and I'm Carl. I apologize. We have just gone through the hour. What's your website so we can find out more? And we're going to have you on a little bit later too. You got any information on that, or Carla?
It's his email address is Carl Marable at bellsouth.net.
Carl Marable at bellsouth.net, and we'll find out more information. We'll get Carl back here. We just ran out of time. Thanks to Mike. Thanks to all of our guests here today. All Sports Talk is next here on WGNS Murfreesboro. That's after we check the news from ABC.